How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is February 4, 2018, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. Got a lot to get into here today for a weekend edition of the show. Super Bowl, of course, is Sunday. But there was a UFC show in Brazil last night. And suffice to say, the most talked about thing was, in fact, the Valentina Shevchenko versus Priscilla Cachoeira match, which ended in 4:25 of the second round via rear naked choke submission. Mario Yamasaki was the referee of this fight. And I'm just going to read quickly here what Dana White said, and then we can get your thoughts, Dave, and mine as well. Dana said, "Priscilla, you showed so much heart and toughness in that fight. I'm honored to have you fight in the UFC. Unfortunately, the referee is there to protect you, and Mario Yamasaki did not do that. This is not his first disgusting performance in the octagon. Another unfortunate thing is that I can't do anything about it. Only the Brazilian commission can, and I am hoping after this scary, incompetent showing, he hopefully will never set foot in that octagon again." Strikes landed in the fight, 230-3. This was...
that may have been wrong because during the broadcast they said it was 217-1.
Yeah,
but whatever it was,
this was disgusting.
Oh yeah, it was not just on his part, but on their corner's part too. After the first round, there was no point in her going out for the second round. You know, but
this first round, everybody, I mean, this was such a massacre. Like,
well,
this had to be the most one-sided fight in UFC history. Am I wrong? Like, what?
There've been one-sided fights like this before, but they usually don't go as long. I mean, this one, there were plenty of times it should have been stopped, and then there's times I was screaming at the screen, "It's okay, you got to stop it now." And then, like, he never stopped it. She's basically in a crucifix position. Her head is there. She cannot defend herself at all, and she's getting punched over and over and over in the face. And
by the way, that was the second round. The first round, Valentina was inside her guard and just throwing elbow after elbow after elbow. There's blood everywhere. She's just covered in blood. She's smashing her with the elbow. Priscilla's doing nothing. She's holding on to the back of Valentina's head, and Valentina, because she's holding her head, like, you know, she's really close to her, and Valentina's just smashing her with her elbow over and over again. That's round one. And then round two was the crucifix. And that round went on 3 minutes as she laid there in that crucifix.
Yeah. And then finally, she went for a couple of submissions, which she didn't get, and then she finally got the choke. And, Priscilla tapped like 3 times before Mario saw it, which was...
The hell was he doing? There wasn't much else to see here.
No, the thing is, okay, so the thing with Mario Yamasaki, I mean, he's been refereeing for 100 years. I mean, forever and ever and ever. And he hasn't been incompetent in every fight. I mean, it's like, I can't really... There have been 1 or 2 times...
There have been a few times.
There's been a few times where he's been slow on stoppages, for sure, okay? I mean, because enough to where it's like Mazzagatti used to be, where I would always go like... And then there's the referee, one of the referees in Texas that would drive me crazy. But it's one of those things where you know it, but it's not usually like this bad. But after this performance, it's like I never want to see him referee again. I mean, this was just I couldn't believe it. It was horrible. It was horrible.
Just absolutely horrible refereeing. And then another thing before we get to the card itself. So of course, it's a Saturday, so a bunch of people miss weight. Michael Prazeres, 161 pounds for a 155-pound fight.
Oh, so you don't even know the rest of the story?
I do know the rest of the story. I'm going to get to it. Okay. So he's supposed to weigh in at 155 or 156 because it's give or take a pound. Yeah. He shows up at 161, okay? He's 5 pounds over, 6 pounds, however you want to look at it.
Okay.
So then they say, well, you know what? If you want to fight, you can weigh no more than 173 pounds the night of the fight. So what does he weigh the night of the fight with a 173-pound limit? He weighs 180 pounds
Yeah.
7 pounds over the limit they told him he could not exceed. And I guess Green was like, I'll take the fight. So they let the guy fight.
Yeah.
He went in there like a weight class heavier than this other dude.
Yeah, it was about 20-pound difference.
And of course, he won. No surprise.
He won, yeah. The thing is that Green did get 40% of his purse, because that was the agreement. And Praceres is going to have to move up a weight class for his next fight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he has to.
He has to.
He has to, yeah. Yeah. Because he's missed weight. He's missed weight multiple times.
So who's going to hold him to this, just out of curiosity?
UFC said it in the Brazilian Commission as well, that he's got to move up a weight class.
Okay.
So he has to move up a weight class. The other thing, too, is one of the problems, I mean, this is that there was no hot water in, because these guys, okay, usually like you would cut weight during the day, but now because of the morning weigh-ins, you're cutting weight when you're supposed to be sleeping, which is among the reasons, and maybe the biggest reason why we're having so many weight class misses. We had 3, but we only really ended up with 2 because Eric Anders missed by about 2 pounds, but Machida said that, look, I know what you went through, because they had, what you do is you sit in the hot bathtub and all that, and they, sweat it out or whatever it is, with the salts in there to draw the water out of your body and things like that. So there was no hot water in the hotel they were staying. So that probably, Praceres probably still wouldn't have made weight, because that's like a 6 pound or 5 pound difference. But Anders probably would have. And in fact, when he was given like another hour and a half, he did make weight. Or another hour, whatever it was, he did make weight. And then the other one was Pedro Munoz, who missed by, I think, 4 pounds. And John Dodson just said, I'm not fighting him. And they originally were, the story was that they were not going to pay John Dodson.
Can you believe that?
I know.
Your idiot opponent could not make weight. And so you don't want to fight him because the dude didn't make weight.
Right.
And they're like, well, you won't get paid then because you didn't fight.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. So they ended up, whatever it was, a couple hours later, it was like, oh wait, he'll get paid something or whatever. And they're going to book the fight. So they're going to fight again. I think that they already have a date, but I don't remember what it is. But it's in a couple. It's probably like on a few, a show in the near, not too distant future. That Dodson's going to face Pedro Munoz. So the number 2 fight fell through. So we had one fight fall out. We had one fight that shouldn't have happened because of the weight class discrepancy, but it did. And then the other one was, a guy missed weight, but he made the weight, and he, him and Machida had a close, kind of boring main event, but it was definitely a close main event. I actually had Anders winning 48-47.
Yeah, so if you're not infuriated enough by stupid refereeing and stupid weight cutting, we had stupid judging as always. One judge gave Lyoto Machida 4 of the 5 rounds. I thought
it was pretty clear, but that it was 3-2. But a lot of people had it 3-2 the other way, for Machida. But I don't know where you only give Praceres. I mean, not Praceres, but
Anders.
Where you only give Anders 1 round. Yeah.
I thought Machida won the first and the 5th. Anders won the other 3.
Yes,
and to be fair, I mean, the 3rd round was close. Like, virtually nothing happened in that entire round. There was, like, I think 1 takedown, and, I mean, that was it. There was, like, 1 takedown, and Machida got back up. Here's the thing.
It was boring.
Machida did land more shots, but, I mean, as far as, like, damage, I mean, the shots that Anders landed were far more damaging. So, I mean, I guess if you want to just do pure point karate statistics, then yeah, I guess Machida won this fight. But I mean, it's a fight; it's not a point karate match. So,
well, the third wasn't the 3rd round the one where Machida got his nose busted open and he was bleeding all over the place.
Yeah, he's bleeding everywhere.
Yeah, so I think that Anders pretty much won that. The 2nd round was the one that I think that might have been debated.
Nothing happened that round either.
Yeah, I mean, Anders couldn't land on him, and Machida kept dancing away. That was probably,
but that was a round where, like, in the last 10 seconds, Anders landed a bunch of shots, and that was like the only thing that happened in the entire match.
Right. Yeah, that's what I thought too. That's why I thought that he clearly won the round.
The
3rd round, he did great damage. In the 4th round, I thought Anders. I mean, I really thought that it was pretty solid 3 rounds for Anders, the first and the, but. Yeah.
Really, to break it all down, this was one of those fights where when it was over, I was certainly not clamoring to see Machida fight anybody of any value. It was not like, boy, he won, let's book him against somebody higher up the card. It was like, yeah, you barely won. It was not impressive at all. And really, it was probably more impressive for Eric Anders.
Yeah, but Anders, it was the kind of a fight at the stage of his career that Eric Anders needed to win, and he didn't. Because it's like, he's looked really good in his fight so far, but it was also against lesser competition. And he was the one, he asked for Machida. He asked for Machida on this show. I don't know if it's smart to ask for Machida on a show. You could say, like, in Brazil because of the Brazilian judges, but the fact is that these were not Brazilian judges. These were American judges that they used. And again, it's Tony Weeks, who's so-so as a judge anyway. But, it was, a split decision. I don't know which judge voted for who, so that wasn't that good there either. So real quick before we get into the card, the biggest news was Max Holloway suffered an ankle injury, and so he's out of the March 3rd Las Vegas pay-per-view. The problem with that show is that it was a one-match show. It's like the show this coming week. I mean, the lineup, it's a pay-per-view show with Luke Rockhold and Yoel Romero, and there's like nothing underneath it. I mean, as far as like marquee value. And that one has the one that we're talking about on March 3rd, which is the next pay-per-view after this coming Saturday's pay-per-view. So that one had CB Dalloway and Hector Lombard and Andrei Arlovsky and Stefan Struve. So it's really nothing, at all. And then, but Holloway defending against Frankie Edgar is, to me, that's a Fox main event more than a pay-per-view main event. But I guess it's a stretch. It's a pay-per-view main event, and it's a good fight. It's a legitimate contender against a champion who's looked absolutely great. Holloway is one of the best fighters in the company now. And so that's out. So they're looking, and this is not a confirmed fight, but they're looking for Edgar to fight Bryan Ortega, who would be the guy I would have picked. If you're going to have to pick a sub, Bryan Ortega's the guy. He's got a whole bunch of submissions in a row, and you go with that, and I guess that would be the winner would fight Holloway when Holloway's healthy in the summer. So they also tried to get TJ Dillashaw to defend the bantamweight title against Cody Garbrandt, and Dillashaw just turned them down flat, and it's just like, no, I haven't been training. I'm not going to, I think he just had a son born like 4 weeks ago. He just goes, I haven't been training at all. I'm not going to go and do a fight in 4 weeks. And then plus you got to remember that TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt hate each other. And TJ Dillashaw said that it took him 2 years after he lost his title in a close fight to get a championship fight. And Garbrandt lost his title, in a stoppage, second round stoppage. And he said, I'm not going to give him, he did nothing to earn a rematch. He needs to at least win a fight. I'm not going to give him a fight. And then, so that's the basic situation. So he absolutely refused. So Ortega and Edgar, to me, that is not a pay-per-view main event. I mean, and I don't know how they could keep it as a pay-per-view, because this card now to me is probably 100,000 buys, maybe less. Yeah, something like that. So I don't know if they turn it into a Fox card. I mean, a Fox Sports 1 card, or because it's hard to turn something like that into a Fox card, because Fox has, it'd make for a good Fox card. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, not that even Edgar and Bryan Ortega, that still wouldn't even draw big ratings on Fox. For FS1, it would probably do reasonably decent, but so that's that situation. So, but the thing is, notice again, like this Saturday, if something happens, I mean, Rockhold will probably make weight. He never has problems making weight. But if something happens, and let's say Romero doesn't make weight, or somebody gets injured in the last week before this fight, or somebody faints and hits their head on the bathtub, and any one of a million different things that can happen the week of the fight, and the Romero fight with Rockhold is out. I mean, this is this and that and at that stage of the game, you can't change it from pay-per-view at the last minute. Because obviously the contracts and schedules there, that would be such a disaster for a show. I mean, like, they really, on these pay-per-views, you need to have 2 solid matches, so in case one of them falls through, you got at least another solid match. And this one, like this week, man, there's nothing. I mean, it's like there's no undercard. I mean, there's and the again, the interim welterweight title, it's not even the real championship as the main event. I mean, it is Rockhold and Romero it's a high quality competitive match. They're both championship level fighters. So I mean, that aspect of it, that's good if you're into like whatever, but it's not like it's marketable. Yoel Romero's not going to draw. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those years for UFC. I mean, everybody thought that, like, I don't know, that I know that from people in the company, it was kind of the thought of like, like last year wasn't a good year on pay-per-view, but this year would turn around and be good. But man, I don't know.
I mean this in the nicest way possible, but why did they think that? Like, Conor may never fight again.
Well,
Ronda's clearly out.
Okay, they thought Conor's probably going to fight, that GSP's around, and that, I don't know what's going to happen with John Jones, but they were all talking like John Jones would fight this year and Brock Lesnar would fight this year, so I don't know about...
How could Brock fight this year?
Brock can fight anytime he wants.
He failed a test, and then he retired.
Yeah, but all he has to do is start getting tested again, and he can fight in 6 months. That's not a problem.
I thought it was a lot longer than that. What was his suspension?
1 year, and he's already served, and he did several. He did, I think, somewhere between.
So he'd have to, by June, he would have to enter the pool again.
Yeah, if he hasn't already. I'm not sure if he's going to or not. I mean, Dana talked like he thinks he's going to fight before the end of the year, but Brock was only going to fight. I mean, Brock wanted to fight John Jones, but we have no idea if John Jones is going to get cleared. This whole John Jones thing has taken forever, for whatever reason. He hasn't even had his hearing for a suspension from, what was it? Was it June? Was it no, end of July? It was July 29th, I think. July 29th, he still hasn't had his hearing because they keep delaying, which to me is, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but but Jones is trouble. So Anderson, failed for methyl testosterone. That also came out in the last couple of days, along with a diuretic. So to me, I don't know how you're going to be able to not suspend Anderson Silva for 4 years, which to me at that point, at his age, 42 years old, pretty much has to be the end of his career, because it's like methyl testosterone. There's whatever. I mean, I guess they can claim a tainted supplement, but when it's so many times, how do these guys take tainted supplements? How do you do that? I mean, it's like I can see any single person making a mistake once, right? You know what I mean? Like, but how do you do it a second time? I don't see how you do it. I mean, don't you kind of learn, okay, why risk any supplements, let alone every one of these tainted supplements is from an unreputable company in every case. Because if you use a reputable company, you're not going to get a tainted supplement. So
maybe a lot of these aren't tainted supplements.
Yeah, I know, but my whole point is like, you're probably right, but the whole thing is like,
if that's your excuse.
But how can you use that? How can I believe that excuse a second time?
Because that's really the only other excuse you can give besides I took methyl testosterone, right?
Yeah.
What other excuse can you come up with? It's either I'm an idiot and I've taken a tainted supplement twice in my career now, or you have to admit that you took something. So, I mean, there's not really other options when it comes to an excuse.
Yeah, it's still amazing to me that with the harshness of the penalties that, some guys, but with like Anderson, it's like you got to put that whole career in question. You just have to. Two failed tests, and like most of his career was when they were doing like the bogus tests, where testing just the day of the fight, where, you have to be an idiot to fail. So it's like, it's one of the, I don't know. I mean, granted, everybody was playing under the same rules. I'm not saying everybody was on steroids back in that era, but a lot of people were. And he, again, he never failed any of those tests, so I can't say he was one of them. But You know, that whole thing is, and again, like one of the things, Vitor Belfort is like living proof. If you ever want, you know, the question of what does it mean? And granted, I mean, he's not the only one, but he's the one that you know, that I can point to, because everyone knows when he stopped, when the commission told him to stop. And not only did his body go from freaking, you know, bodybuilder to, you know, 50-year-old, you know, weekend athlete body, you know, in like 6 months, right? Remember when he like completely changed?
Yep.
And his fighting, you know, and he went from being like legitimately 3 freaking knockouts with head kicks, you know, he knocked out Bisping, he knocked out Rockhold, and he now knocked out Dan Henderson, who are 3 freaking tough guys, you know what I mean? Who are, you know, top level fighters, tough guys. He knocked them all out, you know, and then he came back, and, you know, he couldn't beat anybody. And it's like, that's the difference of this stuff. So it's like, it completely changes the game. And we've seen, you know, there's 3 or 4 guys, and everyone knows who they are, who all of a sudden, you know, their body changed and their performances changed. And a lot of guys, there's more than that actually, and then a lot of guys didn't change. So, I mean, it's like, I think the guys who didn't change, you kind of go, you know what, if their bodies are the same, they were probably, you know, for the most part, they're probably still, you know, probably clean during that era. But the people where you see the big physical changes, it's like, okay, I guess we know the answer with them.
So back to this show, Prazeres and Green, 30-27, 29-28, 30-27. Green got a stoppage early on, punching the dude in the back of the head, so the ref took the position away from him.
Prazeres was the one who was punching him in the back of the head.
Yes, sorry. Second round, all about Prazeres controlling him on the ground. Basically, Green was a good wrestler, but he's not very good at jiu-jitsu, and Prazeres is a second-degree black belt, so he just dominated the dude on the ground, but Green was good at getting away, but other than that, he was just dominated, and then did okay standing in the third, but got taken down, mounted, pounded on till the round ended, so Prazeres gets to win.
Yeah, I actually thought that Prazeres won. I think I had him in all 3 rounds.
Yeah, 2 judges had all 3. 1 judge had a 29-28.
Yeah, but I mean, he won the fight. He's 24-2, but he's so short that if he's moving up to welterweight, man, it's gonna be tough for him. He's like he's a powerhouse, but yeah, he's missed weight a lot of times. So I guess that's about the gist of it.
Timothy Johnson and Marcelo Golm went 30-27, 29-28, 29-28. Insufferably boring fight.
Yep, this was not a good fight at all.
Clinching, accidental headbutts, clinching, accidental headbutts. Announcers are trying to explain to you, the viewer, you may think it's boring, but you need to give Johnson credit for his game plan.
Yeah, that's what they said at the end of the fight, and it was like, you know, okay, so he did fight a winning fight against a guy who was supposed to beat him. I mean, Johnson was brought to Brazil to lose to Golm. I mean, that was the idea, but it didn't happen that way. Golm had looked really good in his previous fights, but he didn't here. You know, he just didn't, you know, Johnson just clinched him and did more, and, you know, yeah, I think that's kind of what happened.
We had another upset, Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Marlon Vera, 30-27 across the board.
You think that was an upset? I didn't think it was upset at all.
Well, Vera was the favorite, so that's what I mean.
I didn't think so. I thought
he was the betting favorite.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
Yeah, de Andrade looked good. I mean, he's
beat him up 3 rounds.
Yeah. This was a pretty entertaining fight. This was good.
So, yeah, 30-27 across the board. Crowd was going nuts for Andrade. Vera's corner yelling at him to just do something. And he didn't, and he got beat. And then the opener on the main card was awesome. Thiago Santos awesome and Anthony Smith. So this first round is amazing. Santos rocks a dude, immediately gets the mount. Thiago looks like he's in a bad spot. Smith couldn't do much in the mount, so Santos sweeps him, gives him a beating from inside the guard, gets back to the feet. Smith is running after him. Santos waffles him with an elbow. He's going for the finish. Smith survives. This round was great. Second round, about a minute in, Santos hits him with his body shot, and Smith actually, for like a split second, was fine, and then he just wilted. And Santos stayed on him. Referee stopped it. It was such a weird, delayed body shot reaction, but this was an exciting fight. Great way to kick off the show.
Yep. Really good fight. Yep.
All right, take us through this undercard.
Okay, so the opener was Joe Soto and Yuri Alcantara, and Yuri Alcantara just swarmed him. Soto shot in, couldn't get the takedown. Alcantara kicked him. Alcantara stuffed the takedown and just started landing all kinds of punches. Hurt him with a body kick and then punches on the ground. The whole thing went a minute and 6 seconds. Then Polyana Viana and Maya Stevenson. Maya Stevenson is the wife of Joe Daddy Stevenson, who you may remember as a UFC star many years ago. And Polyana Viana, she looked great here. She's World Jiu-Jitsu champion in 2015, and she got takedown. She's working for an armbar several times, and Stevenson was able to escape. So then she worked for a guillotine. She got punches on the ground, and finally she got a rear naked choke and got the win, but she was going for submission after submission. The crowd went crazy for her. She has some natural charisma. She might be able to be a star in Brazil. I'm not so sure about the United States market, but strawweight division and everything like that. By the way, with Shevchenko, we should actually talk about it, because Shevchenko is probably going to end up as the flyweight champion, because she moved down from bantamweight. You know, she fought bantamweight and fought tough with Amanda Nunes 2 times. She lost both times, but she fought tough against the champion. So, and she was on the small side for the division, so she's going to 125. And the champion is Nico Montano, who I'm sure almost no one remembers that she's the champion. She beat Roxanne Modafferi in the finals of the tournament, and she beat her with a broken foot. So she's waiting for her foot to heal up and everything like that. But Shevchenko's a completely different level fighter and is probably the heir apparent. Probably will get a championship fight off of this win and probably be a heavy favorite to win the championship. So the next fight was Alan Patrick and Damir Hadzovic, and Patrick pretty much dominated this. There was one judge who had it 30-25. The second round, I actually had 30-26. There's 30-27, 30-27, 30-25. I had 30-26 with the 10-8 second round. It was Patrick pretty much just dominated the fight, taking him down, and the second round actually the first round was the one I almost gave a 10-8. Second round he almost got a choke. Third round he took him down and several times, just pretty much dominated positioning, beat him up, never could finish him. So it's a show. Oh, and then Sergio Moraes and Tim Means was the main event of the prelims, so to speak, and it was a split decision for Moraes. I had Means winning 29-28. Very good fight though. So just back and forth. Not quite as good as the Smith-Santos fight, but just pretty good. Lots of action. No great. I don't know. I mean, no great. Essentially, Moraes was able to land better shots, but as the fight went on, Means was able to control the distance and kind of control the fight in some ways. And yeah, I thought he won rounds 2 and 3. So that was the deal, and it was a split decision.
Alrighty, we got the NXT tapings to talk about. A lot of stuff going on at the NXT tapings. A lot of big news heading towards the New Orleans TakeOver. Got a main event for that show. We got TakeOver rematches. We got the debut of Ricochet as Ricochet.
Yeah, he used the name Ricochet. So there's something going on, and I don't know the answer to this question, okay? But the original main event for New Orleans was I don't know. I mean, I don't know this 100%, but 90% was going to be Andrade against Lars Sullivan. And Lars Sullivan has, in fact, disappeared off the face of the earth.
He vanished.
He vanished. He was not in any of the tapings. They had, at the last set of tapings, they had announced a #1 contenders match with Lars and Killian Dane. And it ended up being Aleister Black and Killian Dane, I believe. Did they have a singles match on the tournament in the thing? But Aleister Black got the shot. So yeah, Aleister Black's going to get the shot. And so I don't know what happened. And Lars Sullivan wasn't at the tapings. He wasn't at the house shows this weekend. I'm not sure when he last wrestled. But yeah, so something's going on there. They're doing the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic, and they had 3 first-round matches, which were let me see what they were. The Street. I don't remember. The Street Profits beat Heavy Machinery, and what are the other ones? Authors of Pain beat TM61, which kind of surprised me because TM61 actually looked like they're kind of getting a little bit of momentum, and the people kind of like them, and they're really good. And Authors of Pain, it's like they're kind of they lost to Fish and O'Reilly. There's really nothing left to do with them. And what was the?
This isn't much of an indication of anything, but Lars Sullivan was tweeting pretty regularly, and then he just absolutely completely stopped tweeting on January 8th. It's been almost a full month.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Now, granted, there have been taping cycles where dudes just vanish, but they usually don't vanish in the middle of something.
Yeah, but they had set him up for the.
Yes, that's why this is weird.
Yeah, they set up that championship match, and then Black took his place, and no one said anything. And remember, he destroyed Roderick Strong.
Yep.
I mean, you don't do that, and then you know what I'm saying. It's like it was. They were pushing him very hard on TV, and then I don't know what happened. I've asked around, and he hasn't been at the Performance Center either, as far as I know. At least that's what I've asked, and it was like, no, he hasn't been there. So yeah, I don't know what the story is. Is it what was the third one? I gotta go find my notes here.
Where were you?
Was Sanity beat Riddick Moss and Tino Sabatelli is the other one. So there's one more, which would probably be Wesley Blake and Steve Cutler did a promo on the taping saying they were in the tournament, and they were not in one of the 3 first-round matches. So there's a 4th one that's going to be at the next set of tapings when they return to Orlando or Full Sail. So they'll probably face somebody. It could be Fish and O'Reilly if they're in the tournament. It could be War Machine. Those would be the most likely opponents. So it's kind of hard to. So you got Authors of Pain and Street Profits and Sanity are all advancing. I've got to think. I can't see Blake and Cutler winning it. If War Machine's in it, you could really argue they should win, but there was also the thing of, well, you got to earn your turn, so to speak, so maybe they won't. Authors of Pain, to me, serve no purpose for them to win because they just lost that championship match, and I just don't, I don't even think they should have won the first round match. But Sanity could win, given that Sanity's like the ones that are really being groomed for that championship anyway. So it could be Sanity winning the tournament and then facing Fish and O'Reilly, or they could go with Sanity and Fish and O'Reilly in the finals of the tournament, with Sanity winning and then setting up the championship match later. There's that, you could do it that way too. The other one is the other championship match is going to be Nikki Cross and Shayna Baszler, and they did do a match at the tapings where Baszler, I think, had the match won and got attacked, and it was maybe it was by Kairi Sane, but Baszler then beat Kairi Sane. So anyway, Baszler and Moon are going to do another match in New Orleans, and so that's that, and then probable Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament Finals, I'm going to guess. And they did a deal where Johnny Gargano lost to Andrade Cien Almas again. And I heard it wasn't as good as the last one, but still a great match. And the stipulations of the match were that if he lost, he had to leave NXT. And they did the big goodbye, the whole big thing. He lost because Ciampa hit him with a crutch. So, and Ciampa's got super, super heat. So I got to think they're going to do Gargano and Ciampa in some form, somehow, in New Orleans. It's not, I mean, everything builds to it. And the one thing with NXT, with the Sullivan thing being the exception, is you know, like when there's something where they tease something, they always follow up on it. Like, they don't promote matches they don't deliver. It's not like the main roster where, okay, you know, they'll start something and they'll just completely drop it the very next week, or there's something that needs an explanation and there is no explanation. The booking on NXT is far superior. So,
but they also don't do bullshit stipulations.
you know, but they could do a non-sanctioned match and then have him go to the main. I hope to God he's not in 205 Live, and he very well could be. I could easily see him in 205 Live right now, but what a waste. 205 Live is such, it's like, you know, I don't know. It's like, it's just a place to avoid.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, well, it is.
So what's up with touring, by the way?
205 Live?
Yeah.
Well, they don't got anything in February. They had a tour scheduled for California, and that's canceled. But there's still talk of doing it, you know, trying it again. I mean, the thing is now is one of the reasons they wanted to tour was because they thought, you know, Enzo was such a big star that, you know, whatever. And then obviously they needed they obviously didn't do that well because they added Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy to the tour and Nia Jax to the tour. And, you know, they did reasonably well though. But then again, it was like Lowell and Poughkeepsie that are cities that are very strong, you know, mid-market cities. So, but, you know, they did about what a Ring of Honor show would do or about what an NXT show would do. So it was all right. But now with no Enzo, you know, and again with, you know, you want to go, I don't know, you know, there's talk that they're going to do it again, but we'll see.
How would that Roderick Strong Tyler Bate match have come across on 205 Live?
I thought that match was great.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I thought that, you know, those guys are great. And plus you had a crowd, you know, in Philadelphia that was very, very happy to see that match. So they were like, you know, they were with it at the start. They just had decided as soon as they saw that it was going to be a great match. And to the credit of those two guys they were both great. It was just an awesome match. Roderick Strong won. Tyler Bate, like, I think he lost 4 matches this week. He went 0-4. So, I don't know. He went from being like the big guy that they were grooming, you know, the superstar for the UK for the future, and he has fallen out of favor. So
why?
Well, you know, right before the reason he lost the title to Pete Dunne, there was a situation where they had a tour and they at the last minute wanted to book him on. It was a main roster tour, I think, and this is a long time ago, but this was right before, you know, they put Pete Dunne over him, and he had other plans, and so, you know, they called him late. He'd made other plans, and that's what happened. You know, pro wrestling is very different from MMA. He was kind of like T.J. Dillashaw being called. And T.J. Dillashaw said, you know, my son was just born, and I haven't trained at all, and I'm not doing this. And, you know, it's like, they don't hold it against you. I'm sure they're not happy, and the fans don't hold it against you. But in wrestling, it's like, you know, it's a different world.
Man, oh man. All right, this Being the Elite. It's a great show. I know you've said this many times.
Oh, yeah, I thought I thought that the episode they dropped on Friday was, you know, really pretty freaking great. Yeah.
You know, I was just watching one of the old Rumbles, Cody Rhodes. It's like, I think 2009, 10, 11, Filthy and I are watching, and Cody Rhodes is out there in every single one of them, and He is so just a guy.
Just a guy.
And
just a
man,
guy
oh man, you look at him, and it's not even like you look at him today as compared to then. You can look at him today compared to then, but also today compared to like a year ago. It's night and day.
I'll tell you what. When he
made up his mind.
Yeah, but well, he did. But here's the thing. For a long time, people are just like, oh, he's flops. No one cares about him. Blah blah blah. He left. No, and all this. And it's like, wait a minute. It's like because I would see him on indies, and the place would go nuts for him. He was drawing. He was making money. He was selling gimmicks. He was totally in demand by all the indie promoters. They all loved him. He was doing his business really smart, working his ass off, and of course that schedule was very, very difficult. So he signed the contract with Ring of Honor, which, so now he's not doing nearly as many dates. Now he's just doing Ring of Honor and New Japan and, some foreign dates here and there, but not a lot of them. And, but I don't know where, like even before he understood, I mean, it's like, want to be Ric Flair type of thing. And that's, Ric Flair's his hero and his father's his hero. And he's taken a little bit from them, but the thing is like, as a persona, this whole time he's done as a performer, or as a as a professional, dressed well and all that. As a professional, since he's left WWE, he was great. Okay, as far as behind the scenes and all that stuff. Okay, as a persona, he improved himself greatly. But in the last short period of time, I mean, like when they've really heated up the Kenny Omega stuff, ready for the thing, it's like you can say he's not like a great in-ring worker. You can say that, but he's a freaking main event star now. And I mean that thing, he was so good. That scene in the bathtub where he's there with the Cody Rhodes wine and the poster of Cody Rhodes, and where he's smoking the cigar, and he is, it's like, man, that was so good. And then I don't know, I really loved the way that they announced the match. It was like, so Nick Jackson was like shooting hoops, and he just started getting dizzy, and when he gets dizzy, he can see into the future. And the future was Colt Cabana and Ian Riccaboni, and they're talking about, we can't believe it, tonight it's happening, Cody Rhodes against Kenny Omega. And then the sign was Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega for April the 7th in New Orleans. I thought that it was put together so well. They're going to probably get 6,000 people there.
I think it's set up, I don't know what it's set up for, but it's an 8,900 seat building, and you do the production and everything like that. I mean, whatever they open it up for, I presume it's going to sell out.
I think it's going to sell out too. I think because the other thing is there's so many people in town, and granted, but NXT is going to sell out, so the people who can't get into NXT are going to probably want to go there, and it's Kenny Omega, so I mean, like, there's probably nobody that's going to be there that's hotter than Kenny Omega as far as a draw goes. So, and Tanahashi's going to be on the card, and Kota Ibushi's on the card, which is a rarity. So, as far as the United States goes. So, yeah, I think that, I don't know what the rest of the card is or anything like that, but, they've got the All-In stuff, and, man, I don't know, the whole thing, and it's like, so all of the guys on Being the Elite, the whole thing is that, like, everybody's just freaking depressed, and they're like, like, Matt Jackson's wife is talking to him, and he's just like blowing her off, and she's going like, well, what happened in the room? He goes, I can't talk about it. And Nick can't play with his kids because he's all depressed, and Kenny Omega's out to dinner with a bunch of his buddies, and he's just in a different world, and like, he doesn't know what's going on. And Adam Page is in the shower crying, and Marty Scurll's singing Avril Lavigne songs, completely depressed. and Cody and Brandy Rhodes are just having the time of their lives. Like, they're not depressed at all, you know, and they went to a ski resort, and they're just, you know, and it was, you know, I'm watching this going like, talk about like getting characters over. You know what I mean? Like what they've done with Marty Scurll. I mean, Marty Scurll's like a superstar now because of that show. And, you know, Cody especially, and, you know, I don't know if they'll get Flip Gordon over or not. But Flip Gordon was also depressed. He was another one who was depressed about the breakup of the Bullet Club. So, yeah, I thought that of all the episodes that they've done, I think that this one was my favorite one. And the one before it was one of my favorite ones, too. So they've had 2 killer episodes of the show. They're doing their own storylines. So this is a real vote of confidence. Delirious and Ghetto have given them a complete vote of confidence on the booking. Like, they basically can do what they want, you know, within reason. I mean, if they did something really stupid, I'm sure they'd be told, hey, dude, this is stupid. But they, you know, it's like this whole Bullet Club feud is their thing, and the way that they've presented it. And, you know, like the other thing with the Kenny Omega and Cody thing is that, you know, this thing, like the first seeds of this, and we all knew it was going to happen. I mean, we've known it's going to happen since Dominion when Cody came out to throw in the towel in the middle of the Okada match. So this is June 11th of last year. So they went from June 11th and held off doing the match until April the 7th. So, you know, it's like those, and they've been slowly building it in every freaking show and several other shows, you know, before they did it, until they did the thing in Sapporo. And I mean, it's funny because you knew it was coming, but yet when it came, it was still like really good. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say about all this, but I just thought, and I don't know what else they're doing, but I just, when I was watching that show, it just hit me that, like, they need to do Kota Ibushi and Kenny Omega against the Young Bucks. They need to do that match once, somehow, out of this. And that might be the match to do, you know, for the All In show. I don't know it. I don't know that that's what they're doing, but it just hit me that that's probably what they should do, because if you're going to have a match, like, that's kind of like the dream match. You know what I mean? Like, you never thought you would see the Young Bucks against Omega at this stage. And you have the Young Bucks, you know, who are like this great tag team against Omega and Ibushi, who were in their day a great tag team and now fantastic singles wrestlers, but they have a history as a team. It just feels like such a natural match to do. So, you know, if they want to do something special on that show, you know, that perhaps that's it.
We got some qualifiers coming up on Raw Monday for the Elimination Chamber.
Well, Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt was announced, and obviously Roman Reigns is winning the Elimination Chamber unless plans change, so he's going to beat Bray. And then there's got to be 2 more. Seth Rollins is supposed to be in the Elimination Chamber, so probably Seth Rollins win. And then the 3rd spot was going to be Jason Jordan, but Jason Jordan's messed up. I mean, he can't. He's having trouble gripping with his hands. He's got real. His neck is in real bad shape. Quite frankly, I mean, obviously I'm not a doctor and I'm only hearing this stuff secondhand as far as like what it is, but you know, his stuff sounds like Arn Anderson, Chris Benoit, all those guys before they had neck surgery. It's not a good thing, and it's a you know, that surgery is a year off. So I'm sure he's doing everything in his power to avoid that surgery. And I'm not saying he needs it, but you know, when your grip goes, man, you know, Edge had the same thing. Edge had that. I remember Edge couldn't lift a dumbbell, and that's when it was like, oh God, I can't lift a dumbbell. I gotta, and he was out, you know, it's a 12 to 14 month recovery period. And obviously Jason Jordan's, for better or for worse, he's in the mix right now as a single. And I'm sure he just wants to be there and, you know, trying to figure out a way through it. But this is a tough situation for him. But, so I don't know who the 6th guy will be, but Jordan was planned to be the 6th guy. And most likely, Jordan and Rollins, the way everything was being built, was probably going to be a WrestleMania match. So I don't know how this all works out.
We also got new streaming services from All Japan, and Ring of Honor made their announcement a couple of days ago as well.
Yeah. So Ring of Honor thing, it's if you pay $120 a year, which is like $10 a month, you get every house show streamed live.
That's right.
Well, and all the pay-per-views as well.
If you sign up for, the year in advance, you get all the pay-per-views. If you do month by month, you get a discount on the pay-per-views.
Right, you get 50% on the pay-per-views. So I mean, all the, every house show, that's pretty good. Plus, I don't know, I'm sure they'll have a lot of archives. You get the TV show, discount on merchandise, first shot at tickets to the live shows, which is a big deal now when they're selling out all their shows or most of their shows. That first dibs on tickets. The other thing, we can talk about this. For the Long Beach show, I've started hearing from friends and everything. So I have a lot more people have come to me that I know that tried to get tickets that didn't than did. So honest to God, that and these are people who know, but the people who know how to get tickets all, everybody, so many of those things crashed. So that was a mess. If they didn't have they sold out in 20 minutes. And if they didn't have that crash, they probably would have sold out in 10. And it's like, and very, very few secondary market tickets. When I last checked, there was only 314 tickets in the secondary market. So these are people who got it for themselves, not to, you know what I mean? After the first one, I figured there'd be a lot of scalpers going in, but you had to get tickets too quick. So, they really should have gone to the Staples Center. They really should have, because you're going to draw way more at the Staples Center than you're going to draw in Long Beach anyway. And they would have drawn easily 13,000 in Long Beach. I'm not saying they would have gone and sold out the Staples Center, but they would have done 14,000 people, which is for a television setup. When WWE does a pay-per-view or a TV, the sellout's 14, and they don't necessarily have as big a stage as WWE would have, but they would do probably 14, 15, maybe more, because it's Staples Center. So they need to quit getting so conservative on the things, and because this one, like the first one, lots of people were turned away, but it feels to me that more people were turned away by far on this one than the first one. So they're a lot hotter than they expected. They're a lot hotter than anyone expected. This is a real surprise, how well they're doing when it comes to that stuff. And the other thing is that they did this with nothing announced other than Kenny Omega, Okada, and I think that's pretty much, and Naito, are all going to be on the card. But that's about it, really.
Let's do a couple of the mailbag questions here. Mailbag at WrestlingObserver.com. Spread says, I was wondering if Dave knew about the history of the WWF World Martial Arts Heavyweight title, how often it was defended. Sounds like a title made up to appease Inoki and bring him into WWF at the time. I can only find info on him defending it at the 1980 Showdown at the Shea WWF House Show, the Tokyo Dome in '89, and that's it. Does Dave know if Inoki defended it regularly?
Way more than that. Okay, so the World Martial Arts Championship was from the Ali Inoki match. That was what the Ali Inoki match in '76 was for the World Martial Arts Championship, and it went to a draw. But they may have called, I don't know, because a couple months before the Ali Inoki match, there was a match with with Inoki and Willem Ruska, who was a super judo guy. And Inoki won that. It was a worked match. These were all worked matches, but Inoki defended that championship many times at the Garden. I remember Iron Sheik. I remember Red Bastien off the top of my head because I saw those matches. He defended it against Chuck Wepner, the boxer in Japan, and Willie Williams, and Mike Dayton, the bodybuilder from Northern California, and it was Kimco Clyde. There were a whole bunch of people. So yeah, it was a championship that he would defend in Japan against non-wrestlers, fighters from other sports, essentially, was the idea that Inoki would do. And then when he was in the United States, then at the Garden, he'd come. What they would do is maybe once a year or so, maybe twice, they would have New Japan television tapings at the Garden. And on those tapings, Inoki and Fujinami and, some of the top New Japan guys would work. And Inoki would work a singles match for the World Martial Arts Championship on those shows in most cases. So that's where it kind of came from. And then he lost it to Shota Choshishvili at the first New Japan Tokyo Dome show, but he beat Choshishvili later. And I don't exactly remember. I guess maybe when they did the IWGP tournament, they dropped it. I'd have to look it all up. Because they dropped the World's Martial Arts Championship. Later they had the Grace 18 Club Championship, which was another weird championship that New Japan did at the time. But yeah, that's the basic World Martial Arts Championship came either from Inoki Ruska or Inoki Ali, because I remember when the Inoki Ali match, when it was held, was billed for the World Martial Arts Championship.
Springer says, does Dave think that Ronda will increase female viewership for WWE like she did for UFC? Week one, the male viewership was way up last week compared to usual, so the female viewership was not up. So based on week one, but she wasn't on the show either. So, so early indication would be no. It's possible. I mean, put it this way: if they do it right, yes, she will. Do I believe they will do it right? I'm like pretty much 75-80% that they won't, but I could be wrong. I mean, I just, I don't know. I mean, I keep thinking like, if Brock, she needs to be booked like a female Brock Lesnar. And when Brock came out, does Brock come out and point to the WrestleMania sign? You know what I mean? It's just like, I thought, like, she probably wasn't allowed to do anything physical, so they were probably limited in what she could do because of the movie. But, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, there's so many things. I mean, put it this way: if they do what Strikeforce did with her, and book for real or book for fake what they did for real, she'll get over. But it has to be careful, because if they do it the wrong way, it's possible the crowd will rebel. That's why you got to do it the right way. It's a little tricky. It's probably best that she doesn't talk, even if she can talk, or if she does, that she's that someone, that's the whole thing. If they put her with Heyman, put it this way: if they put her with Heyman, and Heyman is allowed to have influence like he had with Bill Goldberg. I would have given you any kind of odds that they would have screwed up the Bill Goldberg thing this year, but they did, or last year, but they didn't. So, but do I trust? I mean, these writers, do they understand that if they have her do back and forth pro wrestling matches? Yeah, I don't expect that that's going to, at best, she's going to be a green pro wrestler who's a good athlete. So it's got to be a unique storyline. I'm almost, obviously Stephanie's going to want it. But anyway, I'm skeptical of it, but we'll see. I mean, it could be proven wrong. So we'll see. This person here says, was there ever serious consideration of having Mr. Perfect win the WWF title in 1993, or ever for that matter?
I never heard of any talk of him winning the championship. It was, I know that he wanted it, and I know that there was, when Brett got it, his feeling is like, why Brett, not me? I mean, he definitely had that feeling. So, but I never ever heard anyone talk about. I mean, I'm sure a million things have been like considered, and he was a good enough wrestler. The thing is though, like I mean, Kurt Hennig from like 1986 to 1991 was a fantastic wrestler, but after that, you know, he had the back problems, and he wasn't that great after that at all. I thought he was very, very, you know, I mean, I don't want to say overrated, but I mean super overrated, I thought, because everybody would always talk about, oh my God, he's one of the best, and he would never show it because he was injured, you know, which is not, that's what happens when you get injured, I know. I mean, I don't like going to hold it against him, but, you know, like, if he was uninjured, perhaps in that era, you know, look, the guy he was incredible talent, but as far as like, did anyone ever at any point suggest him? I would guess that somebody would have at some point, just because he was there and he was a big enough star. But as far as something serious, no.
He also wants to know, what's the story of him no-showing the 1993 Survivor Series? Was it simply his back injury or something else? Razor Ramon made a comment about him being not so perfect right before announcing Savage as his replacement.
Well, he had that, I think he was collecting a Lloyd's of London disability thing, and so they just, you know, couldn't work out all the details of everything because he was collecting on that. So I think that's what the story was.
And this person here says, who got the royalties for the original NWO shirts? Would it have just been Hogan, Hall, and Nash, or when VK, Wall Street, and various geeks were members, did they get a small percentage?
I don't know. I think that it was Hogan, Hall, Nash, and Waltman probably at the and that's when most of the shirts were sold. But I don't know what the details were later.
And this person here says, we talked about Lars Sullivan earlier. What's going on with Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan? I haven't seen them on NXT TV or house shows in a while.
Well, Danny Burch is not under contract, and he's been wrestling as Martin Stone in other places. But he was only brought in to do tag team with Oney Lorcan, but Oney Lorcan is injured, so that's why you haven't seen him.
All right, everybody. On that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. The New Observer's up on the front page if you want to check that out. Enjoy.